Imagine discovering today that each crisis you've been facing isn't a sign of failure, but the exact process that's dissolving the layers of limited identity that were preventing you from accessing the reality of your dreams. Since forever, we've heard that constant crises are signs of imbalance. You need to stabilize, get organized, create consistency. But what if this belief is exactly what's blocking your ability to manifest extraordinary realities? What we call instability is, in truth, quantum recalibration in action. Each collapse you experience, that identity you can no longer sustain, that pattern that repeatedly falls apart, that sensation of always starting over, is a programmed dissolution. The universe removing neurological limitations that were preventing you from vibrating at the frequency of the reality of dreams. When others seek mediocre stability, you're being forged in evolutionary instability. When they settle into fixed identities, you're being liberated from the prisons of personality. And it's at this point that the definitive revelation emerges. Will you continue resisting crises as punishment, or will you recognize them as the quantum laboratory that's preparing your nervous system to sustain extraordinary frequencies? Today, we're going to decode the paradox of evolutionary instability, why the chosen live in constant reorganization while others maintain mediocre stability. We'll explore the neuroplasticity of chaos, how recurring crises are rewiring your brain to operate in multiple dimensions of reality. And we'll reveal the frequency of dissolution, why each collapse elevates your ability to collapse quantum possibilities. If you're ready to transform chaos into evolutionary catalyst, stay, because the next 25 minutes aren't about stabilizing your life, but about recognizing that your instability is the fuel to manifest the reality of dreams. Prepare yourself. What seemed like imbalance will reveal itself as the most precise technology of consciousness activation you've ever received. Have you ever noticed that your life seems to operate in a completely different pattern from what you see around you? While other people manage to maintain stable routines, relationships, and careers for years, you live in a constant cycle of construction, collapse, and reconstruction that defies all conventional logic about success. Popular belief says that stable life is a sign of success and balance, that instability indicates personal failure or lack of control over circumstances. But this interpretation completely ignores the quantum nature of consciousness evolution. The truth is that the instability of the chosen is a quantum laboratory. Your life isn't out of control. It's being constantly reorganized to test and expand your ability to manifest through states of being, not through dependence on external circumstances. External stability is, in most cases, stagnation disguised as success. When you maintain the same conditions, the same patterns, the same structures for long periods, you're operating within a comfort zone that blocks consciousness evolution. People who live in mediocre stability never develop real manifestation muscles. They learn to depend on external conditions to feel secure, but never develop the ability to create reality through internal frequency. Your instability is, in truth, advanced training. Each crisis you face is a specific laboratory test. The universe is measuring your ability to maintain internal coherence independent of external chaos. When everything around you crumbles, can you sustain your manifestation frequency? When known structures dissolve, can you operate from pure states of being? Constant crises are quantum simulations. They exist to develop in you the ability to manifest realities through presence, not through control of circumstances. Each time you navigate through a crisis, maintaining your internal frequency, you develop manifestation muscles that most never develop. The difference between someone who depends on external stability and a chosen one is vibrational sovereignty, the ability to maintain constant manifestation frequency independent of external conditions. When you develop this ability, you become capable of manifesting extraordinary realities even in the midst of chaos. The chosen learn to manifest through internal states, not external ones. Your constant instability is the training that develops this ability. While others need perfect conditions to feel capable, you're learning to create perfect conditions through internal frequency. Instability develops quantum flexibility, the ability to operate in multiple reality frequencies simultaneously. When you're constantly adapting to new circumstances, you develop neural muscles that allow access to possibilities that stable people never manage to perceive. Quantum flexibility is the ability to collapse possibilities through consciousness adaptation. Each forced change in your life is expanding your ability to operate beyond linear limitations. Your instability isn't chaos, it's calibration to operate in multiple dimensions of reality. Your life won't stabilize because you're being prepared to manifest realities that transcend conventional stability. When you finally understand this, what seemed like imbalance reveals itself as the most sophisticated manifestation development technology that exists. The question isn't how to stabilize my life. The question is, how can I use this instability to develop vibrational sovereignty that allows me to manifest independent of circumstances? There's a specific reason why you can't maintain the same version of yourself for prolonged periods, and this reason has nothing to do with psychological instability, lack of maturity, or inability to define yourself. Popular belief says that consistent identity is a sign of maturity and psychological stability, that balanced people maintain the same personality, the same values, the same behavioral patterns over time. But this interpretation completely ignores how accelerated consciousness evolution works. The truth is that the constant collapse of identities of the chosen is a quantum liberation process. Each death of persona you experience is removing neurological limitations that were preventing access to superior manifestation frequencies. It's not instability, it's programmed expansion. When you fix yourself in a specific identity, you literally limit your access to quantum potentials. Each persona you maintain comes with a specific set of beliefs, limitations, and vibrational frequencies. If you identify as the person who struggles financially, you block access to abundance frequencies. Fixed personas are neurological prisons. They create rigid brain circuits that filter reality through limited lenses. When you can't maintain consistent identities, you're being liberated from these prisons to access broader spectrums of possibilities. Each time one of your identities dies, when you can no longer sustain that version of yourself, when those patterns stop working, when that personality becomes unsustainable, something profound is happening in your neurology. Each identity collapse activates superior neural circuits. It's as if your brain were constantly upgrading itself, removing limited programming and installing expanded capabilities. The death of the previous persona is necessary for the birth of superior frequencies of being. What you experience as identity instability is, in truth, quantum fluidity, the ability to operate in multiple reality frequencies without fixing yourself in any of them. When you develop this ability, you can access any state of being necessary to manifest any desired reality. Flexible identity is advanced manifestation technology. While people with fixed identities can only manifest within the limits of their personas, you're developing the ability to assume any frequency necessary to collapse any quantum possibility. There's a specific moment in a chosen one's journey when you stop resisting the death of identities and begin embracing it as expansion. It's when you realize that each death is, in truth, a rebirth in superior frequency. Consciousness rebirth is the moment when you stop defending limited identities and begin operating from pure fluidity. You no longer need to be someone. You can become any frequency necessary to manifest any desired reality. Your inability to maintain personas isn't a defect. It's a sign that you're being prepared to operate beyond the limitations of fixed identity. When you finally understand this, what seemed like instability reveals itself as the most sophisticated consciousness expansion technology available. The question isn't how to maintain a consistent identity. The question is, how can I embrace identity fluidity to access superior manifestation frequencies? Do you recognize this constant death and rebirth of identities as quantum liberation? Does this new perspective on your constant transformations resonate with something deep within you? Then, before we advance to the next secret, leave in the comments a word that represents the new frequency you're activating through your crises. Your declaration is your portal to the reality of dreams. Have you ever noticed that your most intense crises always happen at the most inconvenient moments possible? That financial crisis that emerges exactly when you are about to take an important step. The emotional collapse that happens when you most need to be strong. The identity transformation that erupts when you should be stable. Popular belief says that crises that happen at inconvenient moments are bad luck, poor synchronization with universal flow, or a sign that you're misaligned with life's natural rhythms. But this linear interpretation completely ignores how quantum orchestration of consciousness evolution works. The truth is that the impossible timing of the chosen's crises is perfect quantum synchronization. Each collapse happens exactly when your consciousness is ready for the next evolutionary leap, not when it's convenient for your personality. It's not bad luck, it's universal precision. The universe doesn't operate according to human schedules. It operates according to consciousness readiness. When a crisis erupts at the worst possible moment, it's because your consciousness has reached the exact point of maturation necessary to process the next layer of expansion. Crises happen when your consciousness is ready, not when your personality is comfortable. If you waited for the convenient moment, you would miss critical evolutionary windows. The impossible timing is, in truth, perfect timing according to quantum logic. There's an intelligence operating in your life that completely transcends your linear understanding. Each crisis that emerges at the wrong moment reveals an orchestration beyond conscious mind perception. It's as if the universe were coordinating events with surgical precision to maximize your evolutionary growth. The timing of crises reveals universal intelligence in action. When you finally understand this, you realize there was never bad luck, only superior synchronization operating through patterns that your linear mind can't grasp. Crisis moments are temporal portals, specific windows where you can access superior timelines. These portals don't open when it's convenient. They open when quantum conditions are aligned for maximum transformation. Why are crisis moments windows of access to superior timelines? Because it's during collapse that your psychological defenses are down, your rigid patterns are dissolved, and your consciousness is most receptive to frequencies you would normally resist. Crisis is a state of maximum evolutionary permeability. The obsession with convenient timing is one of the biggest traps of consciousness evolution. When you resist the timing of crises because it's not appropriate, you're blocking quantum leaps that can only happen in specific moments of cosmic alignment. Evolution doesn't wait for convenience. It happens when quantum conditions are perfect. Resisting the timing of crises is like trying to negotiate with gravity. You can resist, but you'll be missing transformation opportunities that may not repeat. The impossible timing of your crises isn't universal cruelty, it's evolutionary precision. When you finally understand this, what seemed like bad luck reveals itself as the most sophisticated consciousness synchronization technology that exists. The question isn't why now. The question is, how can I trust quantum timing and use this crisis as a portal of access to the next dimension of my evolution? There's a specific neurological reason why your nervous system seems to enter collapse during transformation periods. And this reason has nothing to do with weakness, illness, or inability to deal with life's pressures. Popular belief says that a collapsing nervous system is a sign of weakness, mental disorder, or inability to manage stress. That healthy people should be able to maintain neurological stability independent of circumstances. But this interpretation completely ignores how neuroplasticity works during accelerated evolutionary processes. The truth is that the nervous system collapse of the chosen is neurological upgrade. Your brain isn't breaking, it's being recalibrated to process reality frequencies that require completely expanded neural circuits. It's not breakdown, it's superior software installation. When your nervous system enters collapse, something extraordinary is happening behind the scenes of your neurology. Old circuits are being deactivated, limited connections are being dissolved, and new neural pathways are being constructed to support superior consciousness frequencies. Nervous system collapses indicate brain circuit expansion. It's as if your brain were undergoing complete reformulation, removing old wiring and installing systems that can process quantum information. Each collapse symptom is, in truth, evidence of advanced neurological construction. Your current brain was designed to process linear, three-dimensional reality. When you're evolving to access superior reality frequencies, your brain needs to be literally rewired to process multidimensional information. Why does your brain need to be recalibrated to process superior frequencies? Because the frequencies of the reality of dreams operate in patterns that conventional brains can't decode. Your nervous system is being upgraded to function as a quantum receiver, not just a linear processor. There's a fundamental difference between destructive collapse and evolutionary upgrade. Destructive collapse leads to progressive deterioration. Evolutionary upgrade leads to capacity expansion after a period of instability. Neurological expansion symptoms include hypersensitivity to energies, difficulty concentrating on linear tasks, sensation of informational overload, alterations in sleep patterns, and intensification of sensory perceptions. These aren't signs of problems. They're signs that your brain is developing superior capabilities. During neurological upgrades, your nervous system needs specific support, not resistance to symptoms. When you try to force normal functioning during recalibration, you interfere with the expansion process. Supporting the nervous system during transformations means recognizing that increased sensitivity is a sign of expansion, not weakness, allowing old functioning patterns to dissolve without resistance, and trusting that temporary instability is building superior stability. Your nervous system isn't failing, it's evolving to support the neurology necessary to manifest the reality of dreams. When you finally understand this, what seemed like collapse reveals itself as the most sophisticated consciousness upgrade technology available. The question isn't how to stop the collapse. The question is, how can I support my nervous system during this upgrade to accelerate my ability to process superior reality frequencies? There's a specific reason why your deepest crises happen in complete isolation, and this reason has nothing to do with dramatization, creating unnecessary problems, or inability to communicate adequately. Popular belief says that if other people can't understand your crises, you must be magnifying normal situations, creating complexity where none exists, or simply being unable to explain your processes clearly. But this interpretation completely ignores the multidimensional nature of accelerated evolutionary processes. The truth is that the misunderstanding of the chosen's crises is evolutionary protection. Your process is happening in frequencies that most can't perceive. And isolation isn't abandonment, it's necessary incubation to complete transformation without interference. It's not loneliness, it's sacred laboratory. When you're going through profound transformations, your consciousness operates in extremely sensitive frequencies. Each attempt to explain your process to someone who can't perceive these frequencies creates interference in the neural circuits being recalibrated. External misunderstanding protects your process from interference. It's as if the universe created a protection field around you, ensuring that incompatible energies don't contaminate the delicate process of consciousness expansion. Solitude during crises is therapeutic isolation, not abandonment. Your crises operate in dimensions of experience that most brains simply can't process. When you try to describe what you're experiencing to someone operating in conventional frequency, it's like trying to explain music to someone born deaf. How do your crises operate in dimensions others can't access? Because you're processing aspects of consciousness evolution that require expanded neural circuits. Your experience exists in frequencies that non-expanded brains literally can't decode. The isolation you experience during crises isn't punishment, it's sacred incubation. Just as a butterfly needs the isolation of the cocoon to complete its metamorphosis, you need solitude to process transformations that can't happen amid external interference. Why is isolation during crises necessary incubation for transformation? Because profound evolutionary processes require all your consciousness energy focused internally. Each moment of solitude is a moment of building capabilities that can only emerge in states of deep introspection. When you seek external understanding for internal processes of superior frequency, you disperse the energy that should be being used to complete the transformation. It's like trying to build something delicate while constantly stopping to explain the process to observers. How to develop trust in your own process without external approval. By recognizing that the need for external validation is, in truth, resistance to the evolutionary process. When you stop needing others to understand, you release all your energy to complete the transformation. The solitude of your crises isn't isolation, it's evolutionary specialization. You're not being excluded from common human experience. You're being included in an expanded human experience that few can access. Your misunderstanding by others isn't a sign that you're wrong, it's a sign that you're processing evolutionary frequencies that most haven't yet developed the ability to perceive. When you finally understand this, what seemed like abandonment reveals itself as the most sophisticated evolutionary protection technology available. The question isn't how to make others understand. The question is, how can I use this sacred solitude to complete my transformation without dispersing energy in search of external validation? We've reached the most crucial point of this revelation. You no longer need to wait for crises to stop to begin manifesting the reality of dreams. This waiting is the last illusion keeping you trapped in transformation cycles when you already possess the neurological capabilities necessary for direct operation. Popular belief says you need to wait until crises become less intense, until your life normalizes, until you feel completely stable to begin manifesting extraordinary realities. But this belief ignores a fundamental truth. The crises have already completed their preparation work. The truth is that you've already developed neurological and consciousness capacity to sustain the reality of dreams. Each crisis you navigated, each identity you dissolved, each nervous system collapse you processed, all of this was building in you refined circuits that are now ready for immediate manifestation. Continuing in crisis mode after developing the necessary capabilities is choice, not necessity. When you recognize that the preparation phase through crises has ended, you can begin operating from conquered mastery, not from the need for more transformation. You're no longer in the process of preparing for the reality of dreams, you've already been prepared. The person who began this journey of constant crises isn't the same person hearing these words now. Your neurology has been fundamentally altered. Each crisis you faced developed unique manifestation capabilities for the reality of dreams. Your experience with instability developed vibrational sovereignty. Your navigation through identity deaths developed quantum fluidity. Your processing of neurological collapses developed expanded circuits. How did your crises develop unique manifestation capabilities? Because each dissolution process removed specific limitations that prevented access to superior frequencies. You're no longer the person who needs crises to grow. You're the person who grew through crises. You already possess the neurology necessary to sustain extraordinary frequencies. The only thing preventing your immediate operation is the mental habit of relating to yourself as someone still in preparation, when in truth, you've already completed the necessary preparation. Overcoming the memory of yourself means stopping identifying with the version of you that was still being prepared by crises. Breaking ties with past-present reality means recognizing and operating from the version of you that has already been forged by them. The reality of dreams isn't a future destination. It's a present frequency you can already access. Manifesting from the depth conquered through mastery of constant crises means operating from the silent mastery you developed, not from the need for more transformational drama. Effortless manifestation of the reality of dreams happens through refined neural circuits and access to superior quantum frequencies. You no longer need to prove your capability through dramatic crisis overcoming. You can manifest from the internal certainty developed through years of preparation. The crises fulfilled their function. They prepared you to sustain the reality of dreams. Now the question is no longer, when will I be ready? The question is, how will I manifest from the mastery I've already conquered? You already possess everything you need to operate from the reality of dreams. Now, manifest from this truth. Do you now recognize that your constant crises were the laboratory that developed your ability to manifest the reality of dreams? That the preparation phase has already ended and you're ready to operate from this conquered mastery. If this content resonated with your journey of transformation through crises, subscribe to the channel for more revelations about the quantum codes of manifestation. Share this video with other chosen ones who need to understand the true nature of their evolutionary crises, and leave in the comments which crisis most developed your ability to access the reality of dreams.